right, so let's dive into this, shall we? What if we woke up tomorrow and poof, only men? Or flip side, only women? Talk about a wild thought, huh? Really stretches the old imagination.
Wild is an understatement, right?
Yeah.
I think it's more like one of those thought experiments.
Yeah.
Really forces you to look at what we just take for granted every single day. You know, like those gender roles, all those dynamics.
Definitely. And that's the heart of our deep dive today. We've got some really interesting material to unpack here. How would a single gender world actually work? Could humanity even survive, let alone thrive? And for you listening in, would life be better, worse, or just, I don't know, different in ways we can't even grasp?
We're going to cover a lot of ground, yeah. We'll hit on the basic survival stuff, reproduction, and then jump into the more complex things. Think relationships, economics. How would emotions even work? Could you have peace, or would it be all-out war? You know, all those things that pop into your head with this kind of question.
And right off the bat, we want to be super clear for everyone listening. This isn't about saying one gender is better or anything like that. It's purely exploring, okay? Like holding up a mirror to the crazy dance that is our world right now.
Exactly. So first things first, right? Can we even keep going? Humanity? I mean, if we were all suddenly just one gender.
Great. Poof. Everyone's the same. The most obvious thing is, well, babies. No more men and women means no more natural way to make them. Doesn't that mean extinction is just a matter of time?
Logically, yeah, that's the first thing you hit. I mean, as we know it, you need male and female biology to do that whole reproduction thing.
Yeah.
But, and this is the big but, that's where science and technology enter the picture.
Ah, the wild card. Our favorite. So tell us more. What are we talking about here?
Well, even today, think about IVF, right? That's where they do fertilization outside the body. And then there's cloning and all sorts of assisted reproduction stuff going on. So it's not a stretch to think that in a single gender world, scientists would be like scrambling, maybe building on what we have, or maybe even coming up with things we haven't even dreamed up yet, all to keep humanity going, you know?
Okay, let's paint a picture for the folks at home. Say it's a women-only world. What could that look like?
Some theories, and this is pretty far out there, talk about stem cells. You know, those cells that can become all sorts of different cell types? Well, maybe, and it's a huge maybe, women could use that tech to make embryos. It'd be a massive scientific challenge, for sure, but not, like, impossible on paper.
Wow, okay. And what about a world of just dudes? Seems like a much trickier situation, biologically speaking.
Yeah, that one throws up some big roadblocks right away. The big one is the lack of a womb, obviously. So for humanity to survive, we'd need some serious scientific breakthroughs, like maybe artificial wombs, who knows? We might even need tech that's just sci-fi right now.
So, big takeaway. Natural babies are out, but we might be able to hack our way around it. But it would mean a total revolution in science.
That's the gist, yeah. Not the way we're used to, but maybe possible. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. How about we talk society? Like, how would things be organized if it was just one gender calling the shots? Let's imagine a men-only world first. What pops into your head?
Honestly, I'm thinking it would be loud, like a lot more yelling, guys being guys, probably tons of competition, and everything would be about sports and who's the strongest, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely fits the stereotype, right? More energy, lots of competition, all that. But let's zoom in a bit. Who does the dishes, the laundry? Is it just one giant, messy bachelor pad?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. We all know the stereotype, right? But I gotta think they'd figure it out. It's like survival of the neatest. They'd have to adapt, right? Create some kind of system. Someone has to step up.
True. Society's always changed to survive, right? Okay, now, big picture stuff. A lot of people think a men-only world would be, you know, more aggressive. History and all that, with war and competition being so male-dominated. What do you make of that?
Well, history is what it is, right? But think about it. If everyone's wired for competition, maybe that energy goes somewhere else. Like maybe it's a world of crazy fast technological progress or super cutthroat businesses. Maybe it's hyper efficient. Everyone's just laser focused.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. Some folks think it would be super structured, disciplined tech, business, physical stuff, not just chaos all the time.
But hold on, what about feelings, relationships, all that? Would a world of just men be missing something there? You know, the deeper stuff.
It's a good question. Traditionally, men aren't exactly known for being super open about their feelings, right? But hey, maybe without women around, they'd change. Maybe friendships become way more intense, you know? They'd have to find a way to connect, right? It'd be fascinating to see how that would all play out. Maybe platonic connections would become like the most important thing.
So if we're summarizing for the listeners, men-only world could be a mixed bag. maybe super organized and tech savvy in some ways, total chaos in others, and who knows how they'd handle all the emotional stuff.
That's a good summary, yeah. Okay, ready for the flip side. Let's talk about a world with only women. First thoughts.
Well, if the men's world was loud, this one's probably a lot calmer, and I'd bet it's way more organized too.
Yeah, that's the common idea, right? Lots of people say it would be more peaceful. Instead of fighting, maybe it's all about communication, cooperation, you know?
Right. Women can definitely be competitive, but historically it hasn't been about huge wars and stuff like that. So maybe you'd have stronger communities, better support systems, right? More emotionally in tune.
Yeah, those are the big positives people talk about. Stronger bonds, teamwork, emotional support, all very likely. But there's got to be challenges too, right? What about things that need a lot of physical strength? Construction, or what if they had to defend themselves? You know, military stuff.
Those are big questions. At first, it'd be tough, for sure. But like we talked about with the men, they'd have to adapt, right? That's where the cool inventions come from when you need them. What about leadership, though? Some of the stuff we read talked about that changing, too.
Absolutely. A lot of it suggests that leadership would look different, yeah. Maybe less like a dictatorship, more democracy. And the focus would probably shift, too, like towards things that help everyone, long-term thinking, all that.
Sounds pretty utopian, actually. But let's be real. Would it be all sunshine and roses? Would there still be, drama, jealousy, all that human stuff?
Oh, absolutely. People are people, right? It's not about gender. But maybe the drama plays out differently. Instead of punching each other, maybe it's all about social status or who's in charge. The core stuff, like wanting to win, wanting to be on top, that probably doesn't go away.
Okay, so to sum up for our listeners, a women-only world might be super organized, everyone's helping each other, lots of emotional support, but those physical strength jobs would be tough at first. And people would still be, well, people. Drama included.
That's it in a nutshell. All right, let's get personal now. Ready for the really mind-blowing part. Love and relationships. In a world of only one gender, this is where things get truly interesting.
No kidding. I mean, romantic relationships, as we know them, gone, right?
Yeah.
Completely different ballgame.
Yep, totally different. Without the other gender, you'd have to redefine partnership, intimacy, the whole deal. It'd be fascinating to see what people came up with.
So some theories say friendships would become super deep, right? Like that could fill some of the gap left by romantic love.
Absolutely. Humans crave connection, right?
Yeah.
It's like a basic need. So in a single-gender world, maybe same-sex friendships become the center of everything. Deeper, more intense than we can even imagine now. And who knows, maybe we'd invent completely new ways of being close, being intimate, things we can't even conceive of right now.
But would that be enough? Would people still feel lonely, even with all those close friends? You know, that longing for a different kind of connection, that spark you get from someone? Different.
You're hitting on something really important there. Deep friendships are great, but there's often this desire for something more, a romantic partner. So yeah, it's possible some folks would still feel like something's missing. But humans are adaptable, right? And love isn't just about gender, is it? It's about being close, sharing your life, all that. So I bet new kinds of bonds would pop up and people would value them, even if they seemed weird to us now.
It makes you think about what love really is, right? Like how fluid is it? How would the definition change in a world like that?
Exactly. It forces you to look past the biology, past our culture, and get to the core of it. What matters most in those really close relationships? It's deep stuff.
Okay, so we've imagined these worlds, right? Men only, women only, how they'd run things, how they'd love each other. But the big question for you listening is, would either of these worlds be better or worse?
From what we've read, most people seem to think it'd be less balanced,
Yeah.
Like our world now, with all its messiness, it benefits from having both genders, all those different views, different ways of doing things.
For sure. It's like they complete each other, right? Different strengths, different ways of looking at things, adds up to something much bigger, more dynamic for sure.
That's the key takeaway. A single gender world, even if it worked, would probably feel incomplete, like something's missing. And that's because both men and women bring something essential to the table.
And just to be super clear, this isn't about saying one is better, right? It seems like both scenarios would have their own struggles. Adapting will be totally different depending on which gender you're talking about.
Absolutely. What we've learned is that both genders are crucial, not just for making babies, but for that balance,
Yeah.
Emotionally, socially, creatively. It's that back and forth, the push and pull that seems to really matter.
So to wrap things up for everyone, could we survive? Maybe. But it'd take some serious scientific magic. How would society look? Well, that's a whole other conversation, different for men and women, both with their own pluses and minuses. And the big takeaway, it seems like having both genders is what makes our world work, even if it's not perfect.
What I find really interesting is how adaptable humans are. We've seen that with the science stuff, right?
Yeah.
And no matter what, that need to connect with others, it seems like it'd find a way, even in the craziest circumstances.
Yeah.
And what's become really clear is that losing one gender wouldn't just be a biological thing. It would change everything, every little corner of our world.
So here's a thought for you to chew on as you go about your day. If you'd had to pick, man only or women only, which would you choose? And why? It's a tough one, makes you really think about what matters most.
We'd love for you to keep thinking about this. Go deeper than what we talked about today. Imagine your life, your work, your relationships. How would they be different? We've just scratched the surface here. There's so much more to uncover.
And in the end, it's a reminder, isn't it, that our world, with all its craziness, has this kind of balance. Even if we don't always see it, men and women all are different strengths. Maybe that's what makes it all work.